We we are living in the last days. Jesus talked about in the Bible, in the book of Matthew, 20, chapter 24, verses 36 to 44. Verse 36, but of that day and hour no man, no, not even the angels of heaven, but only the Father knows the day. We see in this verse that only God knows the hour and the day, not even the angels know. And I would like to try to put a little something into this right now, kind of as a question. What if what I'm going to say is real? Or what if it's not? You know, we have no way of knowing the beginning of everything for sure. When we think of the universe, you think of creation, you think of how things were possibly created. You have to kind of ponder the question of evolution or the theory of evolution. And my theory of evolution is that some way, somehow, there were these powers that existed that collided and joined together, and it grew and grew and formed into what we call God. And that, because it's the source that we get our power from and is our creator and is the creator of life, we honor that, and we don't fully comprehend everything, really. We look at out into space and we see meteors and that floating in Earth traveling around in space, and we see them collide and hit objects and cause explosions and react different reactions, and this only takes a matter of a few seconds, and it causes a release of energy, but we don't understand it. We don't fully understand all of it. And what if whatever's causing those things to happen decides to call an end to it all? I believe that God is capable of creating another place that we could call home, and that those who follow God's plan can go there. But those that do not won't. So, what I'm saying to you is after I read this and we read further on, I want you to look back and try to answer this question of the beginning of everything and how it happened. But as the days of Noah were in the Bible, we've heard the story of the flood and how it suddenly came upon man out of the clear blue. So it says, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. It means he's going to come unexpectedly. He's not going to reveal it to us 10 days in advance or even 10 seconds in advance. He's just going to come. And he's going to judge humanity. Now, when I say that, don't take me wrong. I'm no better than you. I'm a human. So we also read that they were eating and drinking and getting married and giving in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark. And then it was too late. I want to discuss this a little further. This doesn't point out everything. Okay? It says they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage. That doesn't talk about the real problems or specify them in a real way. To us, I mean, to them it did, okay, in their day. I want to try to help put a better picture upon it. A problem in America is what they used to call the 7 deadly sins or 7 deadly immoral acts of humanity. Most of our business leaders and government leaders see only themselves and only care about themselves, not the rest of us. They like to think to themselves that it is not their fault or responsibility that most people must choose between paying their rent or mortgage and health insurance and or food to eat. Well, what are the 7 deadly sins? One of them is pride. And I'm going to name each one separately, but I'm going to break them down into groups and read each group separately. Pride is an emotional state deriving a positive effect from the perceived value of a person or thing with the subject and has an intimate connection. It may be inwardly or outwardly directed, but this can have a negative connotation. Pride refers to a foolish and irrationally corrupt sense of one's personal value, status, or accomplishments, used synonymously with hubris for excessive pride. With a positive connotation, pride refers to a content sense of attachment towards one own or others' choices and actions, or toward a group of people, and it is a product of praise, independence, self reflection, and fulfilled feeling of being, of belonging. I want to stop right there for a second. It's not wrong to think to yourself how beautiful your wife is and take pride in that. But when you look at another, like a friend's wife, and then you say, boy, I'd like to have that. Boy, she's prettier than my wife. Okay? That creates a little bit of a problem, doesn't it? It creates a value problem. And who do we value? And what do we value? Is it just the outward beauty of a woman or the outward appearance and pride that that other guys think you're with the most beautiful woman in the world? That's your, when you have an attitude like that, or you think to yourself, man, I'm worth $60 billion. Yeah, and you take, that you just take so much pride in that having that much money. You're high-minded, and you can't see what's coming next. When a person looks to how they put in the time and effort and hard work to get where they are in life and forget the ones that helped them or the programs that helped them to get the education that they received, or the ones that come before them that built this nation and refused to look at the past and the mistakes that they and others have made before them, is in danger of repeating them and are too proud to admit it. Another problem in America is greed. It is not wrong to want to be rich enough to pay your bills or have enough to take care of yourself and your loved ones into the future. However, when a person is willing to do anything to get rich or to have the power to rule over others' lives, then this person needs to take a look at what they are doing and why. They are doing it be, be, while they are doing it before it is too late and something goes wrong and they lose everything they got. Greed is an uncontrolled longing for increase. In other words, you never get enough. In the acquisition of material gain or social value, such as the status of power, greed has been identified as an undesirable throughout known human history because it creates a behavioral conflict between personal and social goals. What I am talking about is when a person works so many hours that they do not have time for their loved ones. And they are never there during the most important times of their children's life. Ask yourself this one question. Do your children need material things or do they need you and your love? You will be the one missing out on all the memories. Also, when a person is willing to do anything to get money, including stealing or drug dealing or defrauding someone out of their money, they need to take a hard look at what they are doing and how they are hurting others and stop what they are doing before it ends up coming back on them. For what you do to others will come back to haunt you in the end. Another problem in America is lust. Love, another problem in America is today in America is lust. People desire things that is not necessarily wrong. It's not wrong to desire your wife or your girlfriend or desire time to be with your children or your mother, your father, your friends, and to have a good life. But when you allow your desires to take control of you and you are willing to do anything to get rich, or say to a woman, boy, you're beautiful, and you mean it in the way of, man, I'd like to get in bed with you. Or you think you're better than a woman, and you can talk down to them to tell them to shut up when they are talking, or that you call them a bitch, or you think that they are lesser than you. Lust is not only a sexual desire. You can lust for money, you can lust for food, you can lust for power. Lust is a psychological force producing intense desire on the object of circumstance. Fulfilling the emotions while already having sufficient other or amount of the desired object. Lust can take any form, such as the lust for sexuality, love for money, or power. It can take such mundane forms as the lust for food, or as distinct from the need for food. When a person looks upon another person as being lesser than they are, this is a lust for power over another individual. When a person says to themselves that a woman should know her place and let the man rule over them, this is the lust for control and power, not love. If a woman says to herself that she should rule over the man, this is not love. This is a lust for control and power. A man and woman have a different view on how things should be. This is a good thing if they listen to each other when with the respect that they deserve as an equal, because when two humans come together to solve a problem and they look at each other's point of view, they can see the whole picture of the problem, and together they can solve it. Another problem in the United States is envy of others. Envy of others can take the form of jealousy, or it can take the form of one not believing in their own self. When I say this, I mean this in a person goes out and he tries so hard to accomplish something, and he just doesn't seem to get there, and he gives up. And because he gave up, he thinks he's not as good as other people, and he turns it inward, and then he tries to hide from it. Let me catch up here. Yeah, here we are. One can also be rich and have self doubt about their own abilities. Wait a minute. No, that's not right. No, one can also be rich and suffer from envy because they do not want others to have what they have and are not willing to help others get there. This can also lead to a rich person telling themselves that it is the fault of others for their circumstance of their life, and not having a good job or being able to pay for their food or housing or for health care. And why should the government take from me to give to others? Envy is an emotion which occurs when a person likes lacks another person's superior quality or achievement or possession or wealth and desires it, or wish that the others had would lack it and not have it at all. It is not wrong to look up to somebody and wish that you could do as well as them, or to have the capability of being as good as they are at a job or a task. Where the problem comes in at with envy is when you you use envy in a way that you actually become jealous of the other person, and you are insecure about what you have and are unwilling to give the other person a chance at having a good quality life, because you do not want to lose what you have built up over time. Another problem in America is anger. Anger can take many forms, such as hating yourself or others. It can be real, or imagined, provoked, a real or imagined provocation or threat. Anger, also known as rage, is an intentional emotional state involving a strong, uncomfortable, and hostile response to a perceived provocation, hurt, or threat. When a person is told that they are no good, or it it was not, if it was not for you, it would be so much better, or that you deserved me hitting on you, that you start to think that this is all true, and you can begin to turn your feelings inward and start to hate yourself. When a person starts to think of themselves as being better than others because they have never been caught at making mistakes, this can make a person judgmental of others and lead to a person becoming angry because the other person cannot meet their standard of living. When a person blames others for their problems but does not do anything to change what is causing the problem, is only deceiving themselves, and they end up hating others and never solve the problem, and end up all alone by themselves in the end. Another problem in the United States is overindulgence or gluttony. Not only can gluttony refer to a person's wealth, it can refer to a person's stature in life. It can refer to an item that a person holds in high stature. Gluttony can refer to when a person desires to have power over other people's lives, and being able to force them to do things that they do not really want to do, or to make them live the way they think that they should. Gluttony can also refer to when a person says, I have this cell phone, and when they already have a cell phone to use and they do not have the money to buy the new cell phone, but they get it anyway. Gluttony means overindulgence and overconsumption of food, drink, or wealth, or items such as such as a status symbol. When you look at the fact that we as human beings can be controlled by outward things such as alcohol, drugs, overeating, over medicating ourselves, overindulging in pleasures, overindulging in sex, overindulging in work, these can become a real problem for us. We can blame others for the things that we are lacking or desiring to have filled within ourselves. In most cases, it is because we feel lonely, or we feel empty, or we feel lost or misunderstood. If people would only do the things the way I think they should be done, everything would be all right with the world, and the world would be a better place to live in. But is that really true? Most importantly, the emptiness that we are trying to fill that is in us is the void of a thing called unconditional love. And that we can only get these are the things that they were doing in the days of Noah. Think of Sodom and Gomorrah. The ones that were left behind in the flood were guilty of gluttony. They were overeating, overindulging. They were murdering people for food. They wanted power. They lusted after riches. They kidnapped young women and little girls and sold them into slavery. And they fully turned away from God and relying on God and ended up relying on themselves for everything. I kind of want to stop here for a second and make something simple. Basically, what my concept of God is the creator has a set of morals to live by. They used to call them the Ten Commandments. There's other things that they were called to, but basically, it's something that can live within us, in our heart, in our heart, in our soul, in our spirit, inside us. It's a way of thinking, a process of thinking and how we think. And we just need to surrender to that. Now, then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Two women shall be gathering and grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, if the wise man of the house had known in what hour he was going to be robbed, he would have watched, and the thief would not have been able to rob him. Therefore, you also need to be ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man will be coming. In this, we see a warning to the church and to the world of unbelievers. When you think that because you don't do certain things, that you are better than someone else because you're not guilty of a certain thing. But yet you do other things that are wrong. But because you enjoy doing them, you enjoy doing it, you don't think it's wrong to do, or it suits your needs or your wants and what you want to do, or it's how you want it to be in life. That is a real problem because we could be going to church and thinking that we don't drink alcohol, we don't do drugs, we don't steal, we don't cheat on our wives, we don't beat on our children. But yet we say to ourselves, it's not my fault that a person is on welfare when you have a business and you could offer them a job. It is not my fault that there are so many poor people, but yet you don't go out and talk within your community about ideas to help the poor and ways to change the Give Me programs to a hand up to the middle class. All these nonprofit organizations, they pay their executive high salaries. More than half of the money that gets raised goes to the salaries of the executives and the board of directors, not to the people in need or to the programs that the people need to have. If you really want criminal justice reform, you need to start with the sentencing programs that you have in place. Now change them to a three-tier program where on the first offense, you find where I'm at here. Okay. Change them to a three-tier program where on the first offense you're put into a training program where you're separated from society. You can't leave and you have to stay there for a certain length of time. And in this training program you can be educated, you can get your GED, you can learn how to work on cars, you can learn about computers, you can learn how to cook, you can do all kind of things of different things. There's programs that you could come up with. Then you have to have places for these people to be able to go and get jobs so that they, when they get out, they can start to show that they are trustworthy. That's where the churches could come into play. There are senior citizens who have very little money and need help fixing their homes or getting their grass cut or just planting a garden. Poor people who happen to be lucky enough to own their home and can't afford to get the work done. We could create a program where they get the material supplied and nonprofit organizations could supply the workforce. And they would be required to hire people that come from the criminal justice system, come out of the criminal justice system, and give them first priority, because people who don't go through the criminal justice system or get into trouble don't have as much of a problem getting a job. Of course, they have to be watched more closely at first, but if they're successful, we've saved a human life. We've saved human beings' lives. On the second offense, you would do time in jail, and then and then yeah, here we are. You would do time in jail, and you would convert the jail program to a rehabilitation program where you would have training programs, and they could still get training. You can go back out, and so you can go back out into society, and you would be able to provide psychological testing, counseling, try to help them to resolve why they are doing the things they are doing. On the third offense, you would do the full time in jail, and in most cases, depending on the crime, it could end up being life in jail. When I'm saying life in jail, I'm meaning for charges such as rape, bank robbery, murder, serious drug charges. This three-tier system gives a person a chance at redemption and a warning to change. If they refuse to change, how can we help them if they don't want help? Another thing about this is you can lead a person to water, but you can't make them drink. And I try to avoid as best as I can things about magical, mystical, like expressions, because I don't believe Jesus did a whole bunch of miracles. I think that was not his emphasis of his ministry. If you read about Jesus and you study about Jesus, you find that he lived what he preached. And he was a just man, and he was wrongfully crucified and put to death. Now, to explain the magical things, you have to have a little bit of faith. And faith means that I believe there's $1 million. Okay, and I'm going to make an effort to go over there and do it. Now, if I dig all the way through to the other side and I find nothing there, I'm just out my work, my effort. But if I dig halfway through and I find $1 million, I'm a millionaire. And I was right for believing that. And what Jesus was trying to teach is love your neighbor as yourself. Unconditional love. May God bless you. May God bless this message and may it help reach you. Oh, may, may the grace of God go with you and be with you. Look over you, look after you, protect you, and may you find comfort and love in the God the Father and God the Son and God the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good night, folks.